Twitter trending. If you go to Twitter right now, you will find that Twitter trending is no longer on there. All they have now are curated. It's all curated now. No more trending. No more trending. And this, to me, folks, is ever more evidence that the corpo state, the faction that is aligned with the DNC CCP. This is basically the coalition of the Citadelian families. Citadelian is my phrase. I refer to people as Citadelians who all by themselves, no matter where they go, they're almost like a virtual citadel. You can't touch them. They can go anywhere in the world, and they are largely unaccountable for their actions. There's very few actual, I would say, worldwide Citadelians. There's local Citadelians, but anybody that goes outside their territory, they're done. There's very few worldwide Citadelians, but they exist. And a lot of these worldwide Citadelians, they're very wealthy, billionaire. Whether they're not the CEOs, they are the actual owners. Well, sometimes the CEO and the owner are one and the same, but they're the actual owners, the ones who hold most of the stocks, most of the paper that says this is theirs. They hold most of the intellectual property rights of America. They hold most of the market power of America, and they have thrown in with the Chinese Communist Party, not because they're communists, but because the Chinese Communist Party promises to make them far more money than American constitutionalism ever will. A Chinese Communist Party type system in America where the government can control the masses using claims of moral supremacism, that's the kind of world that these Citadelians need to have in order for them to continue to protect themselves against the significant increasing disadvantage in technology between small scale and large scale. Basically, the technological advantage is trending, and has been for the last 30 years significantly, has been trending towards individuals and small associations over large-scale systems. Large-scale systems don't have nearly the efficiency advantage that they once had, and a lot of the disadvantages of large-scale systems, like large-scale systems creating less opportunity for creative minds because you have only so many top-level spaces in large-scale systems as opposed to small-scale systems where you have multiplicities of small-scale vehicles for people of talent and skill to find the highest levels of expression of that talent and skill. So what they are doing is they are desperately trying to prevent you from understanding the nature of who and what they are. Unaccountable children in adult bodies that have been told that they can fornicate with anyone and anything they want, and they will not be challenged. And so here we have Twitter trending. Twitter trending has been canceled. They've canceled Twitter trending, and the reason, whatever reason, they haven't even said officially that they've canceled Twitter trending. The reason that they canceled Twitter trending, I can tell you, is because they can no longer even come close to controlling the narrative anymore. So now they're just going to give you curated content as where the Twitter trending used to be. And this is designed in a desperation attempt by this cult of I don't know. I guess you could say the new serfdom lords, the new wannabe serfdom lords, and now are instead of being on manners, we're now on moralistic manners, and we have to know our place within these moralistic manners that these people control. They are not even talking about this on Google. You look for Twitter trending, and what do you get? You get Twitter search Twitter trends FAQ. How do I see what's trending on Twitter? Trends 24 in United States. Twitter trends. In Twitter, a word, phrase, or topic that is mentioned at a greater rate than others is said to be a trending topic. Twitter to add new context features to trending topics. That's from September 20th. New context feature, AKA, we are going to curate. We don't want to reflect trending topics. We want to create the myth of trending topics and ignore the trends that cut against our narratives. We are not serving the people. We are not a platform of, for, and by the people. We are a platform that is attempting to use its market privilege, its market advantage, paid for by our blood, sweat, and tears, paid for by our military, paid for by our government, paid for by our fucking tax dollars, paid for by our using your services, and you want to take all of that advantage and use it to make sure that no one can compete with your shitty asses, and that you can use your platform to make good little Soviets that don't mind seeing their children taken away and taught to hate themselves and explore their sexuality as early as possible, so that they can own your child's mind, and they can own you and your child and everyone else from cradle to grave. So Twitter trending is gone, and all that you will see if you search in Google, which is in partnership with Twitter. They're both part of the whole DNC-CCP cabal. You will find no mention. And you go to news, Twitter trending. Biden's year-old pandemic tweet gets an anniversary boost. Big Boss 14, Rahul Vadya and Jain Kumar Sanu. The reason nepotism is trending on Twitter. Twitter changes policy that blocked a New York Post story about Biden's son. Calls for Facebook, Twitter to halt trending sections ahead of election gather steam. There you go. They and why? The calls are coming from the foreign powers citadelians, and they're the idiots that don't understand how these citadelians are using all of you, how they've co-opted so many of your pet projects and turned them into authoritarianism. How they have taken the plight of the Black Americans, the plight of the gay Americans, and they've turned them into moral supremacist weapons of war intended not to free the gay person, not to free the Black person, but to murder all political dissension, even if it comes from a Black transgendered, polyamorous person who happens maybe to have the wrong political opinion. Maybe the wrong political opinion. You could be a Black transgendered polyamorous individual, and you dare say, I don't know if our tax rate for the rich should be as high as 90%. Maybe it should only be 80%. You're gone. You're gone. None of the shields that you had that you think that they're creating for you to make it so you don't have to compete with everybody else. None of those shields will matter when you go against the real priest kings. And the real priest kings, they're a bunch of white supremacist billionaires and their snooty little entitled, privileged, unaccountable baby kids. And they all have a healthy, unhealthy, very, very unhealthy appreciation for children, I'll just say. That's the world that you all live in. I just want to let you know, Twitter trending is gone because the motherfuckers couldn't control the narrative because their shit is falling apart. And I tell you, I don't think they're going to win this election, but even if they do, that might be the worst thing that happens to them. If they actually win this election and then they actually have to govern, they have the power to fully govern, they are going to burn this shit to the ground real fast. You are going to see all kinds of dramatic moves made by Republican-controlled states. And there's going to be a lot of people going to try and figure out, how do I get to a Republican state? Because, it's terrible that our opposition to the DNC, CCP is the Republican Party. But that's all we got in the land. The Republicans. Wonderful. Just wonderful. We need new political. Actually, we need no political parties. We need people that are just going to run for office to serve the public. They're not there. You know what? I don't care about your opinions. I just want you to vote according to what your constituents want you to vote. If it's a close, you know, sometimes you can make a decision on your own when it's close, or if for some reason your population actually literally wants to abolish the Constitution, then you should probably not vote with your population in that case. But other than that, I just want mostly clerks, not thinkers. I don't want charismatic leaders. I want nerdy clerks. Those should be our politicians. Nerdy clerks that just check the box that we tell them to check for the most part, overwhelmingly. So Twitter is gone. Just trending. Well, Twitter's trending is gone, increasing its own irrelevancy as most of these folks are doing. I think that they believe that I don't know. I think that they believe that Americans who are not unhealthily attracted to kids. Well, you shouldn't be attracted to kids at all. So any attraction to kids is unhealthy. These Americans, they don't imagine that we can actually build ourselves. Well, we can. And the only things that have been slowing us down have been you using your market powers to throttle us, like kicking us off of our bank accounts. I mean, we have finance institutions. There has to be a reckoning for these finance institutions. You don't think we can't create our own finance institutions? We're going to do this. We are going to leave you and build anew and ignore you as your shit burns to the fucking ground. I'll leave it at that. Fuck Twitter. Fuck the DNCCCP.